All right, so I can't believe we're actually doing this. I'm going to go page by page with you, or if you choose to, you're going to do this with me, because I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go page by page through Ted Greene's book called Chord Chemistry, and we're going to go right down through all of these major chord rabbit holes. And I wanted to start with the introduction page because that's a really important page to read through. What I'm going to do is just literally read through all of it. And we'll begin with the introduction, and because he asks for the player to please read these pages before going further. So this book primarily deals with chords and their applications. There are charts of many different kinds of chords given on pages 17 through 54, and if I'm assuming we all have the same edition, you'll probably want to grab a copy. I'll make sure and post a link to it that you can grab in the description of all of these videos, in case you want to support the channel that way, or if you need a copy, that's a good place as any to get it. And although learning many nice inversions or different ways to play the same chord is essential to a good guitarist, by itself it is nothing, right? It's far better to know only where to put them or how they relate to each other. However, neither situation is as desirable as having your cake and eating it too. That is, knowing thousands of chords and how to use them, right? I guess we'd want the best of all worlds. Every chord given in this book has a usage, and it is hoped that with patient study, we will learn how to decide the proper kind of chords for the proper situations. Although you will probably continue your learning on this subject for many years to come, as there is always something new to be discovered with chords. Some chords that are not too pleasing by themselves are excellent when used with the right combination of other chords. Example, E flat minor major 7/9. If you do not understand how to read this diagram, refer to page 5, which we will do. And that chord is on fret number 3. He's talking about third, so we're going up to fret 5. So 3, third finger on fret 5. And this is our first experience with diving into the deep end with this guy, with Mr. Ted Greene. And then it's E flat, so that would be the root note. So we have the 7 in the bass, which is 7 flat 3 5, 7 flat 3 5, and then 9. So that's kind of interesting. Here's the root note. So play this chord, and to the person who does not know how to use this kind of chord, it may sound very strange, if not downright crummy. But notice the way it blends with the following chords. So we'll start with E flat minor on fret 6, and then E flat minor major 7 over 9, E flat minor major 7 9. And then, there it is, E flat minor 7. And then B on fret 2 with an F in the bass. And then C minor 7/11 would be fret 1, 2, 3. And then F7 flat 5, which is going to be 3rd fret with the 3rd in the bass, and then B flat 9, which is on 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got these really interesting chord shapes. So the shape, the chord progression that he's referencing, this original chord, the E minor major 7/9, to the lay person's ears might sound crummy, but when we play it in context, sounds a little better. There's some nice resolutions happening in there. The point of this is if you play a chord and it doesn't sound good to you, there is an extremely good chance that it can be used effectively somewhere, as you will see. Next point. If you do not know how to read music, it would be to your advantage to learn, as there is much valuable information to be derived from printed music for guitar. Also, the studying of music written for other instruments such as piano, organ, violin, clarinet, etc. can be a big help. And I just want to make a disclaimer here that it's been years since I've worked through this book, and if this would be the first time you're going through this, I'm assuming you're going to suffer the same, similar to the way I'm suffering now. But we're going to continue. We're just going to do it. And by the end of this book, we're going to be well-versed in a lot of things. So there's another good reason for learning music, how to read music. There are some extremely beautiful pieces of music that you cannot play unless you know how to read music, because they are not available on record, or they are extremely difficult to pick up by ear. You might be suspecting that all of this is leading up to telling you that you have to be able to read music in order to get through this book. This is only partially true. Thank goodness. There are a few sections where the knowledge of reading notes is essential. You will find that most of the sections require nothing more than the desire to learn and the strength of will to follow through with this desire. The first half of the book deals mainly with musical theory, and there are very few actual playing exercises given. So be patient and try to absorb a few ideas at a time. You need not dwell too long at first on all of the thoughts given in the first part of the book unless you wish to. Instead, you might try absorbing a few ideas and going to a section that involves more playing. Then you could keep referring back to the idea pages, such as polytonal chords, synonyms, etc., and absorbing a few more ideas at a time. However, if at any point in the book, if it becomes confusing to you, there is a good chance that the point is explained in an earlier section of the book. Let's go back and check it out. Also, be prepared to have to read some things more than once in order to fully absorb and understand them. A key word here is patience. And finalizing the introduction by Mr. Ted Greene himself, another key word for deriving the maximum benefit from this book is experimentation. If an idea is given, ask yourself, how many other ways could you play the same idea? For instance, if an example of the chord change C, G7 were given and two diagrams were listed as suggestions, realize they are just that, suggestions. There are hundreds of ways you could play C and G7. That is where the reference charts on pages 17 through 54 come in handy. And likewise with most any idea given in this book. Also, ask yourself where you might use any idea that is given. For instance, you might like the sound of a chord or chord pattern given in the section of moving voices, and you might fit it into a blues. Use your imagination on things like this, and however, be careful not to delude yourself into thinking something is great just because it's different. The desire to be different can be a healthy thing as long as it does not become more important than the desire to play music that is enjoyable to listen to. Well, that's interesting to absorb. It is hoped that this book will help you increase the amount of enjoyable music in the world. And that signed in black and white by Mr. Ted Greene himself. I'll work us through the table of contents and then I'll cut for today. Chapter 1 is fingerboard chart and string relationships. Chapter 2, chord reference charts, explanation. Number 3, chapter 3, right hand technique. Number 4 is the major scale. Number 5 is chord formulas and families. Number 6 is polytonal chords. And number 7 is essential chord synonyms. Number 8 is chord reference charts. 9 is ear training, which is, they're all super important. 10 is moving chords, a fourth. 11 is chord substitutions and general information. 12 is dominant seventh chords and the cycle. 13, moving voices, voice leading, and systematic thinking. Chord melodies is 14. 15 is triads. 16 is fundamental harmonies of scales. 17, other chords built from scales. 18 is blues progressions. 19 is miscellaneous concepts. And 20 is rock type progressions. Now that's an interesting way to finish the book. But I hope to see you again, and please let me know if you have any questions about why I'm doing this. If you would like me to just stop, I might just do it anyway. But if you have, if you have an interest in joining, just keep an eye out for more of these videos because they're likely going to be a few of them. And I wish you, until next time, I guess, I wish you happy picking. And I don't know what else to say other than get the book, grab the book, link in the description, and continue to watch this series of chord chemistry that we're going to walk page by page through, you and me, by Mr. Ted Greene.